Well, it's Sunday, the 15th of October, and it is time for me to head home. I've just checked out the hotel here. Got a couple of hours to kill before I need to go back to the airport. So I'm stuck in that point of no man's land, not really knowing what to do. Gonna get some lunch and then probably just head to the airport. So I guess this is probably the last video or proper video I'm gonna record. Just want to say again, what an amazing night last night was. Both nights were amazing in slightly different ways. Yesterday, from going the tension, anxiety, should I get a ticket? Then I bought a ticket. Is the ticket going to work? The nervousness, and then finally the exhilaration of when the ticket did scan and I got in. But also just to say again, an absolutely massive thanks to Amy, Nupra and all their family and friends. They really turned what was probably going to be a great night into an absolutely amazing night. Turning up on your own at a concert with me not pre-checking in the morning, so I'd not met anybody. I guess I was slightly nervous not only about getting in, but would I basically just be on my own all evening and have to make the most of it? So for them to welcome me into their party, it was so kind and generous of them. The fact that within, 30 seconds of meeting them, I was being offered red wine and snacks, really just shows like how welcoming they were. So if you're seeing this, guys, again, thank you ever so much. You're all stars, and I hope you all got home safely. So I'm just killing a bit of time walking around Mandalay Bay. Need to get something to eat. It's 12:30 and I've only really had a fruit salad today and a pastry, which is definitely not enough for me. I think I'm going to eat here in Citizens. I think I am going to get BLTA. Here it is, today's lunch, last lunch in Vegas. So just having a final walk through Mandalay Bay Casino before heading back to get my bag, and then I might as well get to the airport. So I'm just killing time here at the moment. I do think that this is probably my favourite casino on the strip. I really do like Mandalay Bay. I stayed here once. The pools are lovely. There's the man-made beach. But the big downside of Mandalay Bay is it's the furthest property south on the strip. So if you want to get anywhere, like up to the middle of the strip, it's a long old trek. So because of that, I probably wouldn't stay here, which is a bit unfortunate really. Get ready to sing along.
Oh, come on down to Heidi's, come join us for a beer. They come from far and near, to drink and laugh and cheer. And when you come to Heidi's, you'll want to sing along. Everyone has so much fun, you're right where you belong. Roll out the barrel and give a real spin.
Any passengers travelling to Leeds are advised to travel through St Pancras on the East Midlands Railway for onwards journey. Any passengers travelling to Peterborough are advised to travel.
Well, this is not what I needed after a long day of travelling. Got back to Heathrow fine, went to King's Cross to get the train back up to York, and there were no trains running out of King's Cross, so instead I had to go across to Euston, get a train up to Manchester, which in itself was delayed nearly an hour and was the hottest train in the world. I'm now here at Manchester Piccadilly waiting to get a train across to Leeds, where I can then get picked up and hopefully get home about 2.5 hours late. So yes, not ideal. Hi everybody, well, I know I've already recorded an outro video, but today it's Wednesday the 18th of October. Obviously I'm back home now. I've had time to reflect and get over a little bit of jet lag. It's actually been probably the least affected I've ever been on any transatlantic flight, let alone one over to the West Coast. But yeah, having had time to get settled back in and reflect on a few things, I just wanted to record one final video because there was a few things that I felt that I'd left unsaid. Firstly, I'd planned to kind of record a nice sort of homeward journey, do a bit of reflection on the journey back. Everything was going to plan. The flight into Heathrow, the flight was great, arrived in on time. I got into central London, no problem. And then as I walked into the concourse at King's Cross station for my train home, that's when I heard the announcement saying that because of signalling problems, there were no trains heading north. So from that point on, things got a little bit chaotic. I had to hop across to Euston Station, get a train up to Manchester, which was also then held up by an hour, wait then for a connection across from Manchester to Leeds. So I finally got home about 2.5 hours later than I should have done. But do you know what? Everything else went to plan. And if you'd have offered me at the start or before my trip that was the only delay I was going to encounter, I would have snapped your hand off. And I'm so thankful really that it happened on the way home, because had that situation happened when I was heading down from York, heading out, the chances are I probably would have missed my flight. So at least in that respect, someone or the travel fates were in my favour in that sense. As part of that as well, one big thank you I have not mentioned, that is that I want to say a huge thank you to my dad. He kindly bookended both ends of my trip. He took me on the station heading out, and thankfully he was there to pick me up and take me home at the end of my journey. So thank you, Dad, you are a star. Another thing I wanted to reflect on, I've spoken about what a great time I had, how I enjoyed travelling by myself. I think just to sort of elaborate on that a little bit further, to be honest, I was actually slightly apprehensive before heading out on my own on such a journey, quite a long distance. Granted, it was only 4 nights, but thinking, you know, the time, the money, everything that I was investing in this trip to do it by myself, there was a bit of me, an inner voice thinking, do you know what, are you actually going to enjoy this on your own? And I absolutely did. I met so many fantastic people, many of whom I've already said thank you to on a previous video. But I think on reflection, I realised I just started chatting and had conversations with so many people, and probably 80% of those conversations would not have happened had I been travelling with someone else. So I certainly wasn't lonely. It was a really good experience. So if anybody's watching this and you've ever entertained any thoughts of travelling by yourself, maybe you're a little bit nervous or apprehensive, my advice to you would be just to do it, because I am certain that you wouldn't regret it. Another thing I didn't touch on is obviously, I love Vegas. That was one of the reasons why I went out there. Obviously, the other reason being my love of U2. I say love Vegas. I think to phrase it slightly different way, I loved Vegas in the past tense. The 8 previous times I've been were around from 2008 through to 2015. And one of the things I really loved about Vegas was the blend of the high end and the polished resorts versus more of the sort of lower key, I guess blue collar type places. And obviously I realised as the years go by, Vegas is becoming more and more high end. And I was slightly nervous about whether it would feel the same to me. I'd not been for 8 years and I knew a lot had changed. I follow Vegas vlogs. I know it's obviously a constantly changing and evolving city. But I've got to be honest, it still felt the same. Aside from the fact that everything is now really expensive, and I think that's for 2 reasons. Firstly, the exchange rate from the British pound to the dollar is far worse than it was through the periods I went previously. To put that into context, I vividly remember when I first went to Vegas in 2008, I got nearly $2 to the pound, whereas now I was basically getting $1 plus change to the pound. So that's a huge difference. And secondly, I think Vegas now is just far more expensive by way of dollar comparison. Obviously, when I first started going, it was in the aftermath of the financial crash. Obviously, they had thousands of hotel rooms to fill. I could get literally one of the 4 or 5 star hotels through the week and over a weekend, you know, averaging out, about £100 a night. Now, to put that into context, the 4 nights I stayed in the Excalibur with advanced booking and with a voucher code that I had as well with 10% off, that cost, I think, £550, which for the Excalibur, in my head, you know, was very expensive. But compare that, I still kept looking up until when I travelled. But, you know, one of the 5-star resorts, such as Bellagio, for instance, you know, for the 4 nights I was out there, you'd be looking, I think it was about £2,500. So if you're planning to go to Vegas, one, it's going to be very expensive to stay there. And secondly, everything in general is very expensive, especially if you are a visitor from the UK. That said, though, there are still some good value options to be found. I, for instance, went to that Mexican place for breakfast, got plenty there for $11. So if you are on a budget, I definitely recommend that you do your research before you head out there, because obviously Vegas is geared just to drain you of cash, even when you're not really consciously aware of what you're spending. It just has a way of extracting a lot of money from your pockets. And the very final thing I want to say is, if you have stuck with these videos to this point, again, just to say thank you. Whether that is if you are watching as a U2 fan or a Vegas fan, or just someone out there in YouTube land, or it could be family or friends, just to say, I really appreciate you watching this. I enjoyed recording the videos. The editing process takes a long time. I tip my hat to all the YouTube vloggers out there, especially those that do all the editing themselves. It is an addictive process, but it is a very time-consuming process as well. And just to say clearly, I am not a professional vlogger. I cringe through some of the clips and the recordings that I took listening to my own voice back. I think on balance, I'm reasonably proud of the job that I did, but obviously you learn from experience. And if I was to repeat the trip again, I would probably do a number of things slightly differently. So thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with me. I hope you've enjoyed my travels. Whether there will be another series of travel vlogs here on this channel, who knows? I'm going away with my daughter next month to Amsterdam for a father-daughter weekend. I plan to do a vlog on that. Whether or not Lila would like me to publish that for public viewing, I'm not sure, but watch this space. Obviously, it'll be a very different experience to going to Vegas, but it'll be an experience I'm sure I enjoy nevertheless. So, thanks again, take care, and I wish you all the very best.